My name is Michael Hung. I'm the chef of Faith and Flower Restaurant in downtown Los Angeles. I'd cooked for my family since about 12 years old because my mother had gotten surgery for scoliosis, so I took over those responsibilities. My first cooking memory, I was cooking breakfast for my brother and sister, and I was frying eggs. And the way my mother taught me how to fry eggs was to use a lot of oil and then use a spoon to baste the oil over the eggs. And one of the eggs popped and sprayed oil. And at the time I wasn't wearing a shirt because it was like first thing in the morning, and it kind of just sprayed across my chest and left a severe burn. My nipple scabbed up a little bit. I didn't originally start out being a chef. I went to college, graduated with a degree in English language and lit, and then took a career in IT. That career led to network management and then eventually to healthcare finance. And I really wasn't happy with what I was doing. It wasn't a satisfying field of work for me. And every day I kind of dreaded getting up and going to work. There wasn't a lot of passion in my life. There wasn't a lot of excitement. And there wasn't a lot of purpose. I think the biggest thing is I felt that I was just going through the motions of getting up, making a salary, going home, and there was nothing fulfilling for me. When my brother decided that he wanted to go to culinary school, I was insanely jealous, and I was a little bit angry also, and I realized I was angry at myself because that was something that I had always wanted to do. I think there are so many rewarding things about being a chef. From obviously the craft aspect, I love that. I love that I get to learn something new every day. I love to work with my hands. I'm a writer also, and they're both crafts. And so I think a lot of the creative elements and a lot of the aesthetic visions cross over, and they inform each other on how to be creative and how to generate new ideas. And I think also I love the business of running restaurants. I mean, for me, it's like a game of how I can manage people, how I can manage resources. It's almost like a real world version of chess for me. One of the things that I learned was that seasonal cooking is the proper way to cook. That's one of the first places that I start, is to see what produce is in season, what meats and fish are in season, and that's kind of where I jump off from. And then it becomes a matter of what kind of cultural influence do I want to incorporate, and also what kind of techniques are fun and new. At Faith and Flower, what I'm trying to do is reflect the city of Los Angeles, and it's such a cosmopolitan city with so many different ethnicities and so many different people that come to the city, and I want to make sure that I'm a part of Los Angeles in that respect through my menu. So you'll see influences from Asia, you'll see influences from Central and South America, you see influences from Europe and North Africa. For me, that is the way I pay homage to LA. My Filipino heritage has so much to do with not just my career, but my life. I grew up learning about food and loving food because, growing up in a Filipino household, your family is always kind of cooking, and you're always having barbecues, and you always have an uncle that's bringing you some obscure kind of dish or obscure flavor and getting you to try it. So, I have really fond memories of just sitting around the backyard with my uncles as they cooked different cuts of pork, and they made their own pickled chilies and different types of sauces to go with the meat. And we would sit around the fire and just drink beer and eat, and that was what life was for me in the summer times. So that kind of love of food, and also the love of the environment and the conviviality of it as well was really influential to me. And for me, being a chef and being a cook is who I am, and a lot of it has to do with how I grew up and those food memories. My best food experiences are always tied to a time and a place and to people. One of the best food experiences I had was in college. My friends and I took a trip to Jamaica, and it was a 6-hour flight to Jamaica. And when we finally got to our hotel and we walk onto the beach, and it's gorgeous, you can see all the stars, the water is very calm, and you can just hear a little hint of the waves. And there's this small shack on the beach, and it's a woman selling chicken and rice in a box. And we got a couple boxes of chicken, and we had our first meal in 8 hours. And I was with friends, and we were on vacation, and it was this beautiful place, and that to me was always one of the strongest food memories I have. I found out I had diabetes when I was 24 years old, so I have type 2. Living with diabetes is always a challenge, especially and ironically because I work in the food industry and I'm surrounded by food every day, and yet I have to make sure that I maintain my blood sugar and make sure that I maintain my health, despite the fact that I am tasting food all day and eating all day. For me, success has a lot to do with perseverance. I've said this to my cooks many times: talent only shows you that there is a path. True success has a lot to do with discipline, with perseverance, with education, and with hard work. And those are the things that I maintain for myself and I maintain for my cooks. I think the key to staying competitive and fresh has a lot to do with research. In order to create new dishes, you have to continuously be eating and continuously see how other great restaurants work. This is an industry that's always evolving and always changing. For my career, I wanted to continuously evolve and change. So my inspiration every day is to come in and, find ways to do things better, and find ways to do things more creatively, or find ways to do things more efficiently. I think that's how I continue to find success. I'm Michael Hung, and you're watching Spice to Life. Los Angeles has created a remarkable food scene. Home to many ethnic flavors, the city abounds with incredible food to discover. Today, I'm taking you on a tour of the best bites in town. We're here in Hollywood at Terrene Restaurant, where there's beautiful people in a beautiful space. Let's go check it out inside. Terrene is known for their classical dishes executed to perfection, and my favorite find on the menu is the burrito.
Hi, I'm Stéphane Bombay, the co-owner of Terrene Restaurant, a French brasserie in the heart of Los Angeles. Bienvenue, please follow me.
Hi, we're in Hollywood at Terrine Restaurant. I'm sitting here with the chef, Chris Morningstar. Thanks for having us today, Chef. How are you?
I'm doing great, Michael. Thank you.
Can you tell us a little bit about Terrine Restaurant?
Sure. Terrine is a California brasserie, which means that we've taken some kind of classic French brasserie standard fare and we've reinvigorated it with California flavor.
Very nice. And what can you tell me about the food that we have here today?
Well, we've got two different dishes here that really represent Terrine very well.
I'm gonna just jump right in here if you don't
Please,
mind.
yeah, get in there. The first is our kind of signature charcuterie board, which kind of runs the gamut. We've got a truffle chicken liver mousse, we've got a smoked ham, we've got a grandmother's pate or a pate grand-mère, we have a house smoked andouille sausage, we've got a cured pork head or a copa de testa, and a smoked beef deckle, and some creamy, fatty pork rillette.
Oh my God, that's awesome. This mousse is amazing.
Thank you very much. It's one of our favorites.
One of the things I love about your food, Chris, is how classically based it is. Can you tell me a little bit about the technique that's involved with making the burrito?
Sure. So the burrito is kind of a classic Southern French stew, and the idea here is we make a really flavorful seafood broth. We use the bones from the cod, we use the shells from the prawns. Right at the end, we whisk in a garlic lemon aioli. It kind of gives a silky richness to the broth without adding dairy to it. It's just a really flavorful and rarely used technique anymore.
Yeah, I love this, and especially when you say that it adds richness. You can kind of see how on the clam the broth just coats the clam, so every piece of seafood you get is just full of flavor. Oh, that's amazing. Thank you so much.
My pleasure, thank you.
Your food is so good, but I think one of the great things about this restaurant is the space itself. Can you talk a little bit about how you designed it?
When we thought about what we wanted to do with this picture, my business partner Stefan and Francois and I, we decided that we wanted something warm, inviting, elegant, and we had this, so we went out and we wanted some kind of antiqued fixtures, a lot of kind of, even the plates are oftentimes mismatched, almost like when you're having, holiday dinner at your,
Right,
at your
right.
folks' place. It's you've got kind of an elegant setup, but it's a place that you feel completely comfortable to, stick a spoon on your nose.
It must have been such a fun experience decorating your restaurant. And what I also love is the outside patio. I mean, there's this beautiful tree out there. What inspired you to develop that space?
We were fortunate enough to inherit one of the most iconic patios in the city, and what we really wanted to do was to bring it back to life, to get the greenery going again, to make it, to light it up and have these kind of dim lit glow lights, creating a romantic and fun environment outside.
And I think that's totally the romance of the space speaks to the food also, because I really feel transported to France when I'm eating here. I mean, you have this beautiful charcuterie, which is so classically developed with great technique. You have this beautiful stew that just, coats the shellfish and the fish in the broth, and really just reminds you with flavors of tarragon and anise and seafood of being on the coast of France.
Thank you. We've really, worked hard with, just creating some great dishes, and our regulars come back for things as classic as our French onion soup,
I love that
and steak
too.
frites, but also for more less traditional things like octopus and some of our pastas. We just recently put on a half-roasted duck, which I think is just spectacular.
Very cool. Well, Chef Chris, thank you so much for having us today. Everything was delicious as usual, and it's a pleasure to be here once again.
Thanks very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Nice to see you.
Likewise. Next time you take a trip to downtown Los Angeles, pay a visit to Ray Garcia's BS Taqueria. His tacos are to die for. In this taco fanatic town, I found the best of the best at BS Taqueria. You have to try the clam and lardo taco.
I'm Ray Garcia, and this is BS Taqueria, where we put a uniquely Angelino spin on tacos and more. Welcome.
So we're sitting here at BS Taqueria with Chef Ray Garcia, and we're about to have two really incredible dishes. One is the chicken chicharrones, which I absolutely love, and the other is his very innovative clam and lardo taco. So Chef Ray, please tell us a little bit about BS Taqueria and what your inspiration was for the restaurant.
Well, thank you, Chef. Thank you for coming. The taqueria is really where I express, my food, my passion
Right.
and my way of looking at ingredients, but with the taco as the centerpiece. So the core is tacos, and then you have, dishes like the chicharrones or some plus-size dishes that kind of balance everything.
Yeah, what I really love about it is that you have this background of classical cooking, and you're cooking food from your childhood. For me, it feels very real and very maybe not authentic in the sense that it's coming from Mexico, but authentic in the sense that it's coming from your heart.
Yeah, and that's the goal, is that we created something that is uniquely LA, uniquely Los Angeles.
Yeah.
And for me as a chef, I've tapped into an extra sense that goes beyond a recipe, that goes beyond the grams that I'm used to putting into a dish, but taps into a memory that I say, okay, I can make this adjustment, and it'll taste more like home.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, it definitely shows. Right now we're eating the chicken chicharrones, and first I just want to I'll tell you, I love the way that you're presenting it in this bag, because it really feels like street food. And the flavors are amazing. You have some peppers in here, of course the chicken skins, which are incredibly crispy, chicken oysters, which give some meatiness and a lot of savory qualities to it.
Yeah, so it's the lemon pepper chicken or lemon pepper chicharron, and most of the dishes are culturally rooted in either a Mexican dish or something that's unique to Los Angeles, whether it be the ingredient or the style of preparation.
Right.
But we mix it up a little bit with some chicken skin and chicken oyster, and celebrate that crunch.
And it's
something you're familiar
And it's
with.
amazing. So let's move on to the clams and lardo taco. Where did you come up with this? Because I've never seen this in any taqueria that I've been in.
Well, me neither. It's a first time creating and eating, but I've always felt that seafood and pork is a great combination.
Right. I'm going to take a bite. Oh man.
So you should get a little bit of the spice, the citrus notes, the salt,
Absolutely.
a little bit of garlic, and then we wanted something that wasn't too strong or powerful to knock away that taste, delicate tortilla underneath.
I mean, this dish has all the tenets of a fine dining dish, where you have these beautiful clams. There's a little sofrito in the bottom that kind of amplifies the aromatic qualities of it. The taco is like super tender, super fresh. I mean, the corn you're using is incredible. And then the lardo gives that salty, sort of savory quality of the pork. And then, of course, right here we have, I don't know if you can see this, but we've got some garlic chips, and that just adds to the overall complexity by giving some textural contrast. I really love everything you're doing here. What else on the menu is exciting you about BS Taqueria?
I'm really proud of what we can do for vegetarians and people who aren't just coming in for the carnitas.
Absolutely, especially being in LA.
Cauliflower al pastor is great. We have a great beef milanesa that we make into a torta.
Nice. Chef Ray, thank you so much for having us today. Your hospitality is as always amazing, and I'll see you soon. From downtown LA to Beverly Hills, we're now in the exciting community of Silver Lake, where we're going to visit Pine and Crane Restaurant. In the neighborhood of Silver Lake, a Taiwanese gem serves Asian comfort food unlike any other. Step into Pine and Crane.
Hi, I'm Vivian. Welcome to Pine and Crane, where we serve classic, homey Taiwanese Chinese dishes. So grab a friend and come on in.
We're sitting outside of Pine and Crane on this beautiful day with Chef Vivian Koo. Vivian, can you tell me a little bit about how you started the restaurant?
Yeah, sure. So I've always wanted to open a restaurant, and when it came down to deciding what type of food really Taiwanese Chinese food is something that I hold really near and dear, and I think it has a very interesting culinary heritage.
Definitely.
My grandfather actually went from China to Taiwan during the Civil War and started making noodles because his family
nice.
lost
So
everything. So
runs
it's sort
in
of
the family.
a tribute back to him.
Awesome.
And then my dad grows vegetables that we get to utilize here. The vegetables that we saute by the plate usually, and then
great.
depending on the season, we have yellow watermelons are coming out for the summertime.
Nice. Tell me a little bit about the outdoor seating you have over here.
Yeah, sure. So we love being in Silver Lake. Everyone in the community has been so supportive and generous and kind to us. When we're looking at locations, I absolutely fell in love with this spot. I thought, what a cool location. We have this interesting pedestrian plaza where everyone just sort of comes out and chills. And
It's like sort of a community meeting ground.
yeah, a community gathering spot. We've seen a lot of things happen out here.
Nice. So I'm gonna dig in right now because I just can't wait anymore. But you want to tell me a little bit about your tofu noodles?
Yeah, sure. The bean curd salad. It was one of my favorite things as a child. It's super simple, very refreshing, light flavors. Just a little bit of celery, carrots, our house chili oil. All of our cold dishes are really, supposed to be refreshing and sort of get you excited about the meal to come.
Yeah, it definitely is. I mean, the tofu is such a good product that just picks up flavors of other ingredients, so it's a great base. And then the celery and the cilantro, and there's some shaved carrot in there that adds a lot of vibrancy. So it's really, really beautiful. And then over here, what do we have?
This is our minced pork on rice. I think this is one of the most classic Taiwanese dishes to me. We do half pork belly, half pork shoulder. You can find this on almost every single street of Taiwan, I feel like. It's just a very simple, homey dish, slow braised, with cinnamon, soy sauce, rock sugar for about 2 hours, and then that's our house-made pickle and a soy braised egg.
I love it. I mean, definitely the dish is so redolent of the sweet spices. And one of the things I love about this dish is it's a ubiquitous item that's in Taiwan, and it's something that you kind of brought to Los Angeles. And I think anytime you do a dish like that where there's a lot of emotional ties to it, it always comes out really strong. These are great dishes. What other items on your menu are really popular?
Yeah, the spicy shrimp wontons, dan dan noodles.
Oh, yeah.
In addition, overall, we just really wanted to share a piece of Taiwan, and since it's known for growing so many great oolong teas, we really try to feature a really solid loose leaf tea list.
Right.
And we also have.
Yeah, I can attest to that.
Thank you. And we also have the bubble tea.
Vivian, thank you so much for having us today. I've really enjoyed the food, and I really enjoy your restaurant. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, no, thank you so much for coming in.
When we return, join me in my kitchen as we make cod baked in parchment. So we're at Faith and Flour, and today we're going to do a baked cod. We're going to bake that cod in parchment. And what I like about baking fish in parchment is you have an opportunity to seal the flavors of all the aromatics that you are using with the fish. So the first thing we're going to do is make a sofrito. And the sofrito is a mix usually of onions and garlic and a few other ingredients that act as a base of flavor for a lot of your dishes. Our sofrito is going to be made with shallots, ginger, and black fermented soybeans. So here I'm just cutting the shallots very small. The reason why we want to cut them very small is because this fish is going to cook pretty quickly within about 10 minutes, and we want the shallots to be fully cooked when we go through. Here we have some fermented black soybeans. This is a product from Chinese cuisine. And black fermented soybeans are a really great aromatic because they have a little bit of funk, a lot of umami to it, and it gives just an extra dimension of really beguiling flavor that you don't see in a lot of Western cooking. So I'm just going to chop this really finely. And the last item for this is going to be ginger. So I've got a piece of ginger here, And I'm just gonna peel it. And I like to use a spoon when I peel ginger. Makes it a lot easier than trying to get in there with a vegetable peeler. And as you can see, we can scrape away the skin without wasting any of the ginger. One of the things that I really like about this dish is that it's super flavorful. It makes use of a lot of classic European style techniques, but it brings together a lot of Asian flavors. So for me, that's very exciting. It sort of is exactly the style of cooking that I do. So I've got the ginger, and I'm gonna cut it to the same size as my shallots. I'm not gonna use too much ginger because a little bit goes a long way. So I've got all these ingredients. I'm gonna mix them up with a little bit of olive oil, as well as salt and pepper. So this black soy sofrito is really going to give you the base of your flavor for this dish. And when I cook, I like to cook in layers. And what that means is that, you know, all your ingredients kind of add up in certain layers. So as you're eating things, it's not just one monotonous flavor. You have, you know, a little bit of, you know, the aromatics from the black soy. We're going to be adding some sun-dried tomatoes, so that'll give you a little fruitiness and a little bit of acid, as well as some garlic that's been slow cooked in oil, so that's going to give you a lot of richness and a lot of umami. So right now we're going to prep the fish. What we're using today is lingcod, and lingcod is this really great sustainable fish that's from the Pacific Northwest. It's got a flaky texture, a pretty mild flavor, but it's also a wild fish, so it does have, you know, a good amount of that oceanic sea flavor. So the first thing we're going to do with the parchment is cut it into a heart shape. Cutting your parchment into a heart takes away some of that excess paper and allows you to properly wrap it up. I'm going to season my fish liberally. We're using about, in this case, this is about 12 ounces of fish, so it's a good portion size for 4 or 5 people. So we've got our parchment cut. I'm going to put a little oil down. I have some of this oil reserved from the garlic making process. That's just going to help keep the fish from sticking. I'm going to place my fillets. I have my sofrito right here, and I'm just going to spoon this liberally over the top. Lingcod is a very lean fish, so one of the things we're going to do is add a little extra fat. And I'm going to use just some olive oil, and I'm going to liberally drizzle that over the top. Afterwards, we're going to add some cloves, whole cloves of confit garlic. This garlic, as I've said before, has been cooked for about 3 hours until it's very tender and it's very soft. And it's one of those things where you can just kind of smash into the fish later on. And again, the last thing I'm going to be adding is some of that sun-dried tomato, both for the acid, the floral qualities, the fruitiness, and for some color. So here we're going to fold up our parchment. This folding process seals the fish into the paper. All the aroma is going to be trapped inside, and when you cut it open, you're just going to smell it, and it's just kind of going to waft up to your nose. I'm going to place this on a pan to cook, and we're going to go right into our oven. So we're going to bake this at about 400 degrees, and it's going to take 12 minutes. You don't want to dry the fish out. You want it to be moist and succulent and still tender. So the cod's been in the oven for about 10 minutes now. I'm going to start working on the garnishes for it. The first thing we're going to have is some pickled Fresno peppers. And I'm just going to cut these down into a small dice just so that when you're eating the dish, you get a small bite and it's kind of a punctuation of flavor. I don't want the heat to be pervasive. And the next item is going to be green onion. I want to cut this on an extremely hard bias just so I get some threads of it. The reason why I'm doing that really is not just for flavor, but also because it looks nicer when you're presenting the dish. So let's take a look at our fish. It's been in the oven for about 12 minutes now, and you can see the edges, the liquid inside has come up to a simmer, and so that's how we know that our fish is cooked. I'm going to transfer this fish to a plate, and just nice and easy. So we're gonna trim this and open it up. And if you were here with us, I think you can see some of that steam coming up. But if you were here with us, you could really get this aroma of all these vegetables, these aromatics, as well as the fish itself. And you can really just get in there and smell it. You'll notice there's a little bit of char on some of the vegetables. That's great. That char gives it a little bit more complexity of flavor. And then we're just gonna finish off with all these other vegetables that we've cut. And there you have it. So this is our cod that's been baked in parchment. It's got confit garlic, sun-dried tomatoes, and a sofrito made with shallots, ginger, and black soy. I think as a chef you have a moral responsibility for philanthropy. One of the reasons is because we can touch so many people. And the other reason is, by nature, I think chefs are people who give a lot of themselves. I mean, every day when people come into your restaurant, you're putting yourself out there for them to experience, your heart and soul. Red Sparrow was a pop-up series that I was doing in San Francisco. I had some time off between chef jobs, and in that time I wanted to do something that made a difference. So I started Red Sparrow, and I did a few pop-up dinners in which we donated to charity. One of the charities we did donate to was La Cucina in San Francisco. And that's also a great charity because it helps immigrants and often women immigrants start their own food businesses. The one I work with the most is No Kid Hungry and Share Our Strength. And that's a program that is fighting to end childhood hunger in the United States by 2017, I believe. And that makes perfect sense for me because I am a chef. And also because in America we shouldn't have children going to school and being hungry. I mean, we're one of the foremost nations in the world in terms of wealth, and yet we still have children that don't get 3 square meals a day. We are part of the world. We are part of a community. We are part of a place. We are part of a time. We're completely interconnected with that, and we can't separate ourselves out. And so giving back in terms of charity, giving back in terms of donating your time to causes is incredibly important because you have to live in this time and place. You have a choice to either do nothing or to do something to make the world a better place. I'm Michael Hung, and you're watching Spice to Life.